Call to order this Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of November 1st, 2022. Please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Eva, please call the roll.
Mr. Redmond.
Here.
Mr. Kressler.
Here.
Mr. Weisgerber.
Here.
Mr. O'Neill.
I'm here.
Mr. Bateman.
I move to excuse Mr. Bateman.
Second.
Mr. Kressler.
Yes.
Mr. Weisgerber.
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill.
Yes.
Mr. Redmond.
Yes. Okay. Next order of business is the review and approval of the meeting minutes from October 4th, 2022. Do we have any corrections or comments? Here, do we have a
I move we approve the minutes as transcribed.
second?
Mr. Weisgerber.
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill.
Yes.
Mr. Redmond.
Yes.
Mr. Kressler.
Yes.
Next order of business is open forum, and we do not have anyone signed up for that, so we will move on to new business, which is case 22-09, the mobile food vendor draft zoning text amendment. Mr. Wright, would you like to give us a background on this?
Yes, sir.
Case?
So if we think back earlier this year, we had sort of the mobile food vendor conversation, and then we put out a community survey. In response to that, held a work session here, got some really good feedback, and we were tasked with developing sort of some initial draft regulations based on the survey, based on community feedback, based on what other communities do, and with an eye toward regulating them throughout the city, taking a more inclusive and yet more closely regulated approach. So in a sense, tasked with, I think the expression I use is sort of negotiating against yourself, because we don't know where we are. But really what we have in front of us is we know that we wanted to do away with the special exception process. So the proposed text amendment tonight, this is kind of the initial getting it to the commission here, gives you the striking out the special exceptions, establishing them as a different use category in the table of permitted uses, and then really trying to develop a set of regulations. What we're calling them is amendments to the Chapter 1165, which would create a new category uses, which would be temporary uses. And we really don't have a temporary uses in the zoning code right now. And so the thought was this could be a place where we can deal with these specialty type uses. You know, we in that provision already, you deal with microbreweries, you deal with regional brew pubs, you deal with medical marijuana. And so this seemed like the obvious place to do that, to regulate it in a specific manner in that. So, the regulations they're by no means inclusive. There's probably always another way to look at a particular aspect of that. But I think the goal was, to distinguish, okay, well, if they're temporary uses, and we heard from the survey, people want to be able to have them, very limited instances for block parties in residential districts. We heard that they want to be able to have them more in commercial districts, but we also heard that there needs to be a process by which that the zoning department can review and approve those administratively. And so the goal there, and again, in my prior community, we regulated a lot of uses this way, as like what we would call accessory permits or seasonal sales, things like that. So with that, there are two different use categories: residential and multifamily, and then more commercial, which are all of our commercial districts. Just want to give these to the commission. By no means asking for, authorization or changes or trying to get to a final document tonight. With that, I'll conclude my report.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about you want to have a work session?
Oh, yes. Great point, Eva. So what I would recommend, if the commission does not want to advance these right away, that we would set a work session at some point in the future to actually go through these. That way the commission has ample time to really review the regulations, make comments, bring questions. If look at it another way, is there another way to regulate that? Or I don't think those should be regulated that way. I think they should be regulated this way. And that way we can really engage in a good back and forth. And quite honestly, I think work sessions are great. Those are the best. That's the best way to handle that.
No, I tend to agree. I think that this was very well. Thank you for first of all for putting this much thought and effort into this, because I know it's a lot of detail that needs to go into these, and it was very well thought out. I can see that. I think from my perspective, just making sure I understand what the intent is, the thought process that went into it, so we have a better understanding before we adopt anything, just to make sure we're clear on what's in here. I think a work session, in my opinion, would be a great way to do that. That we can have some good back and forth and fully understand. Plus, it would give us a little more time to kind of read through this and cross-check things back and forth so we understand it. So at least that's my perspective. Is there any other discussions or thoughts from, yes, Mr. Cresta?
Well, since we're approaching cold and snow and all that, I don't think we'll have many applications over the winter, so we do have plenty of time to get into this. And there was a couple little minor things. And do we want to open up a work session to the public? Do like we did for the last time? Get more input or not?
I think, if you're asking me for my advice, I think we've had the public input.
Okay,
We had 2
that's
hours of it. We had 300 surveys. And I think that, if we get to a set of regulations, we'll go through the public hearing process. So.
Yes.
If I might, as was stated, we've had a work session where we've got a lot of input, the survey, as well as individuals here that addressed us. I think a work session, and it's open to the public to listen and hear the debate that we have. But as Mr. Wright stated, once we noodle through this a little bit and have our back and forth, it will come in at the table in, again, a public hearing and final deliberation. So I would fully support a work session. I think leaving it open to the public as it should is great, but not receiving comment at the time. I did have another question.
Yes.
So structurally, as I've gone through this, just at a high level, you've eliminated the special exception process for mobile food trucks.
Right.
You've added a definition for temporary use.
Yes.
You added a section for temporary uses specifically to address the mobile food trucks.
Yes.
The tables, however, I don't remember seeing the table having a temporary use column. Was that added?
Yeah.
Or was it off my
It's in
screen?
red.
Oh, it was down there. That's what I missed. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. That was what
We
I was
may
looking
need,
for.
there may need to be, and I think this might have been an oversight on my part, on the table itself. I may need to add if you look at that header right there where it says principally permitted, permitted accessory, conditionally permitted. So it looks like we'll need to add temporary at T. So that's a very easy change, and I'm actually going to make that
Is
note.
special exception even on
Mhm.
there? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was
So I'll
was
need
there.
to make
Yeah.
that change.
I have another minor, it's more of a formatting issue. Is there a way to print the reference copy so it's more watermarky? So
Oh, sure.
it was hard, some of it was hard to, I had to read through it and interpret. At least that's me. Maybe everyone else is smarter than me, but I was, made it difficult. So if there's a way to make it in the background or print it differently, or you don't have to reprint it, just the PDF or whatever, something to do that. That would be helpful.
We really don't need that formatting stuff and make it bigger type.
It's probably there because you're tracking changes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I had one.
Yes, Mr. Cresta.
Under paragraph L, I think that C and L subparagraphs may conflict with each other, and you can just look into that at your leisure.
Let me, you
C
guys are
and L.
way ahead of me here.
Which paragraphs? I'm sorry.
C, which says shall be valid for no longer than 5 days, and then L says can operate no more than 15 days consecutive. So
Hang on a second.
C.
I got to get back to where I was here.
What page do you want now?
yeah, paragraph.
Packet page?
Well, page 78.
Okay.
So it'd be
Minutes.
paragraph G, conflicts with C.
Oh, G, not
B.
C.
Yeah, G.
So what page was that, Mr. Kressler?
Page 78 and 79. And it's minor.
So
C, no food can be valid for a period longer than 5 days in total, consecutive or cumulative. And then G says, can no operate any single, no mobile food vendor can be on any parcel or record for more than 15 consecutive days. So,
well, when we look at, so what we may need to do on that one, I think what we were saying there is that we want the ability to be able to stack them, 3 permits in any given month. And so what you would look at is say 5 consecutive days, no longer, no. So I think what you could do is clarify that and say no single mobile food vendor permit shall be valid for longer than 5 days. And then G doesn't conflict anymore.
right.
Because then you can stack
That's
3
what I
per
thought.
month. Yes.
Then I also had comment about who inspects the food vendors to make sure they're 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet from the property line, 10 feet from whatever. And if they are in violation, what penalties are in effect? Can we shut them down? And that may be handled somewhere else in the zoning code. So
There's an enforcement section.
Mhm.
Is there any?
We would not handle the enforcement any differently than any other provision in the zoning.
Okay. So
That
the
would be
enforcement
the intent.
section is, I didn't see any changes in it.
No. So if you look at sections 1111, I think there might have been. Let me see if I had any changes to it.
maybe just a reference to that section, the enforcement section.
I think also, as
Well, we did strike out 111108, which was the special exceptions for whatever reason. Yeah.
You struck special exception.
But we did not
But there's others.
change any specific provision of our enforcement process.
another thought, and again, this could be in the work session, but maybe food for, I don't want to say food for thought. That's really bad fun. Food truck for thought.
you design kitchens?
You're interrupting me, Mr. Presley. So since this is not a staked out like building that's being put up, property lines some type are arbitrary in terms of where everybody thinks the property lines are. So if you're talking about enforcement, I just think through how, where you're going to say you got to be 15 feet off the road, off where's the property line, what's the setback, what's the right of way, all that kind of stuff is. It's easy when you draw it up on a drawing, but maybe there's some other references to, features that a drawing that shows, if you do put on property line, you got something that when you go out and reference to say it's got to be off of this building, this 15 feet is this far off the street or whatever else it is, just so there's some other something to go by. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud on how that could work.
That could be in the permitting that you're going to handle in office. You could say, okay, it's 10 feet from this property line, which means you're 8 feet from this tree.
Yeah, or the street.
And they could
or
just
whatever.
put a note on the drawing.
So there's something that if you're going to enforce it, you can say, here's what you said.
They could just handle that with just some site
So if
notes.
somebody argues that it's too close to whatever, you can. Well, here it is.
They could handle that administratively.
We're going to have different setbacks and terminology for the different zoning districts.
Yeah.
Right? Because Level Madeira is going to be from the curb.
Residential low density or medium
Right,
density.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And they submit a site plan and
On the street in a
take
cul-de-sac.
their word
or
for
whatever.
property line.
Site plan may show a fence line, so you say, okay, fence is 2 feet from the other guy, so you got to be 12 feet from the fence.
And then I
Somebody's gonna come up
usually pull up for customers if they don't know how to do
I
it. I
think
pull
they'll
up
do it.
pages.
They'll do it. You just need to flag it for them.
Yeah, because somebody's going to come at some point in time and say it's in the wrong spot.
And I pull up KJS maps for them too. So we can kind of see, here's that tree, here's that stump, here's the pool.
Guess that's the benefits of being a mobile food vendor.
Yeah. Look it up, George. We're moving it over.
That was good. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm sure we'll get into
Any
more
more
discussion in the
discussions?
work session. Yeah.
I'll give you a motion.
We have a motion.
I move we table, what are we calling this? The mobile food vendor draft regulations and schedule a work session for November, what's 2 weeks?
November 15th at 6 p.m. if that works for everyone.
Write that down.
Or
No, yeah, no, that'll be okay. That's a Wednesday,
Good Tuesday.
15th?
Yeah.
I thought you said
yes, what's the
16th.
third Tuesday?
16th's out. I'm trying to schedule
Is there a council meeting or anything that day?
No.
Okay.
I usually try to do that because we used to have meetings on the 1st and 3rd all the time for P&Z, and it never conflicted with other council meetings or.
On the 15th, I will be in Oklahoma City.
Well, can we make the motion that that Eva is to schedule a work session,
At the convenience of the majority of the members.
and then I'll email you.
Right, that'd be better.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. All right.
it. Thank you.
Next order of business, old business. There's nothing on the agenda for old business. Any communications from the city?
I don't have anything
Nope.
for the commission.
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
December, whenever, will be my last meeting, and I expect presents.
Oh.
I prefer 12 to 18-year-old Scotch.
Thank you for saying Scotch because I
But I will be in the
know
audience.
you.
After that time, I will be in the audience. You can count on me. When I see things, Eva will keep me posted.
Like
Eva.
Is that new business or old business?
That was an announcement.
Oh, announcement.
Communication.
Okay. Communication.
What
After,
date? What
after
date?
48 years.
What date was that?
Oh, I will point out on chapter 1156, there is we added special exceptions in the header, but we didn't add it in the actual
Chart.
sub. No, here
that's
special
what I
exceptions
thought. Yeah.
listed here, but they're listed here. So I'll make that change as well.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We have a
That's why we do this.
Move adjourn.
Clean up. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
48 years.